Greeting you in the
All right,
love and the light of the one infinite creator. I got my brother here for episode 3. This is a spontaneous happening. I know my brother through social media, the community of creators of tensor technology. Uh, and yeah, this brother right here is he's an inspiration to me in many ways, and an innovator, and I see a brother that's really walking in the heart. And yeah, so I want to give my brother this space, hold the container for us for about 40 minutes. And yeah, if you want to introduce yourself and how you came across tensor technology and why you create it.
all right. Well, where to start, right? I guess I'll try to yeah, there's no script here. Um what was it about? I had heard of like orgone and tensor um like maybe when I was a very young teenager.
Mm,
I'm like something like 23 now. Um and the time wasn't right. I was very young back then. There's a lot of things going on at that age. But it was probably like right around in the middle of like the whole lockdown psyop
mm,
kind of sequence there. I started kind of seeing this stuff again, and I was very intrigued by it. But nothing really came out of it yet. But it was kind of just like a precursor of what I feel like was to come. It was around that time as well where was going through the whole awakening process, whatever. It was really changing a huge trajectory in my life. I started working in a metal fabrication shop and doing
mm,
like a lot of welding, metalworking, anything of that nature. Um, and that's when I just like one time I probably was either you or it was Shavambi or it was um Brother Gaia. You
mm,
guys were kind of the like I either saw or knew of. I had a little relationship with Shavambi before then, but that's when I was like seeing the copper and the tensor again, and I was just like, it's like, man, what's going on with all this stuff? And I was like, well, I work with metal, like that's kind of like what I do. Like, let's give it a go. Um, so I just went to Home Depot. I started playing around, making some rings. Um, really toying around with the stuff and just trying to like see if like any of what I was hearing, like people expressing the healing benefits or just all of the things about tech. I was really trying to see like, and like, is this stuff doing anything? Um, it was part of like it was like my soul was naturally gravitated towards it, or it was gravitated towards me, and but like my ego or my mental whatever it was kind of like very skeptical.
mm,
Um so yeah, like I spent maybe like a year or two, the past 2 years about now, really just toying around, experiencing, um and it really probably took me about a year or maybe even a year and a half until I got to the point where it was like I started to really, really deeply connect with the tools. And I started to like actually really feel the energy, just holding them, being around them when I had them or not. Um, one of the main parts was, I had moved to Texas for a little while, and I was spending some time with family. Um, and that was the first time I grew up like I'm in rural like kind of Pennsylvania right now, so like we're out in the woods and whatnot.
mm,
Um, so when I was in Texas, that was my first time in the city. And that's when my like connection with this stuff just really went AWOL. Um, because I was around all that radiation, that EMF stuff, and I'm like, all this stuff that people are talking about, I never experienced, like I never, you know, so but when I was there, like I was really feeling that energy.
Mm,
So I started, I had a few rings and like I would, put them on my arms or a necklace, whatever. And and again, like a few days went by and like I couldn't say like I noticed anything out of this world. And I took them off for a day and I went to work. And like halfway through the day, I was like, I'm not going a day where I'm not wearing this stuff again. Like
mm,
I noticed a very significant difference in just my overall mental and emotional health. Just and there's a lot I could go in depth with about that. I'd say like one thing I could really say is like it almost like when we talk about frequency warfare, frequency weapons, it really was starting to become apparent that it was like it didn't even feel like it was my emotional or mental bandwidth that was suffering. Like it felt more of like, no, I'm in like a energy frequency bath right now that's just chaos.
yeah.
So that was kind of really the beginning of what really motivated me to be like, okay, this is like there's something going on here. And that's kind of when I was like, it's time to start digging.
Mm. Cheers. Cheers,
So
brother.
yeah.
Cheers. Um, wow, cool, cool. Yeah, so um just yeah, sharing a little bit about the the frequency like a warfare in a sense. It's yeah, it goes deeper, and I would be interested in kind of hearing about a little more in depth about that. Maybe we can riff off that. The way I see it is like I've been studying the law of one, right? And
Yes.
I've been sharing a lot about it, and it's come down to the realization for me that there's a positive and a negative polarity in this universe, and that this is what Ra is teaching. And there's the service to others path or the service to self. And service to self is the path of illusion, in a sense, the path of the mind. And obviously, like I can elaborate more. I'm not saying that the mind is completely an illusion. From one level of consciousness it is, but it depends the context of how we're speaking. All the time we overlook the context, and that's how we get ourselves in trouble. But the warfare, it starts from within, and it this is
Yes.
this is just what the universe is, without without the light, the light and the dark, they're one thing. But something cool about the law of one is that Ross says that in the sixth density, the negatively polarized beings, they actually have to hit a brick wall, and they turn themselves over, because the pathway of illusion of service to of self can only go so far, and that inherently the makeup of this logos, this this realm of our galaxy, is that like eventually all beings return to the pathway of the heart, whether it's in this density or this dimension, however you choose to look at it. But the framework of the law of one is the seven energy centers, and then relating it to seven densities. And this is the ascension, where you eventually, you complete the seventh density, and then you just go up another octave. So it's like there is no end to ourself.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. It's a fact now that we are moving into the fourth density of Earth. We call this place Earth, which is just a
Right.
habitable planet. But this relating to this frequency warfare is that the the negatively polarized beings are at their end of having reign over Earth. And what I see is happening is that beings like us who realized a lot of the same story is like seeing the sickness and the the lack of source connection, and then like for me at least, I didn't want to be here anymore when I realized what was going on, because I was actually listening to a teacher, Shanya Mruti, who's in Costa Rica, and he's a great teacher, and a lot of people hate on him for being like kind of like a doomsdayer guy, but he's
Hmm.
really not. He's actually like he's just saying facts about the world situation, and a lot of spiritual teachers don't actually bring up like the manifest. Like it's a lot of the non-dual, like watch the thoughts dissolve and just be as you are. But Shunya, he was hitting me with these like, and I knew in my heart that it was true because the feeling it had in my body. um I actually remember like missing days of school at the time. I was at this holistic school, and I had to like miss a few days because the information was so piercing. And I knew
Yeah.
that, whoa, like this earth is like it, like we're in trouble in the way of like if we don't surrender uh to the self in the way of being of service, then like I remember writing in my notebook like, why am I here? And I would keep asking myself like, why am I here? And the question was always at the bottom line like, there's only one answer, which is to be unconditionally loving and to serve the creator in a positive way where I make a ripple effect into the cosmos, a very loving ripple effect. And so this tech is a part of that offering. Um, but yeah, so the frequency warfare, it's you can feel it, brother. Like when I'm walking through the city, like I'm going back to the city today, like there's a big difference in being out here a little bit more country
Yeah.
and being in the city. And I've actually haven't taken a I haven't taken the tech off um in,
Right.
in the past 2 years. So when people ask me like what does it do for you, uh I just tell them like it's become part of me. Like I can't even really tell you because it's like, I don't know, like maybe judge yourself, like look at me, like look at my life, and then you can make your own, like some would say I'm a very loving being, and some wouldn't, some maybe some past girl.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No.
But that's just the way it is, everybody's seeing their own thing. Um but yeah, so talking about like if you want to drop in a little more on maybe a little more like the metaphysics of like
I got.
the frequency warfare that's going on not only on this plane but maybe in the universe.
All right. So I'll do my best here. Um, yeah. So let's kind of correlate it with a little bit what you were speaking before. Um, a little bit of the kind of like the whole duality, non-duality kind of thing,
Mm,
where in and again, obviously the whole illusion of duality is that they're separate. It's obviously all one in the whole. It's just you need the inverse to have the other.
mm,
Um, I think that nature and the universe, whatever, it's very simple. It's very simple in that nature. So to the duality aspect, it's like if we're going to have a singular consciousness of love, you know, life force energy, whatever you kind of want to call it, everybody's got a different name, but the universe doesn't care what you call it. It is what it is.
Right.
So so with that being said, is like, yes, we there's a fluctuation, there's a spectrum, and obviously the spectrum is infinite, but within that spectrum, you know, if you want to delegate it to lower frequencies, lower realms, dimensions, whatever, um you know, you're going to have the inverse of a loving, understanding, compassionate being, realm, society, tribe. You're gonna have the inverse of that. You know, it's I don't know, it's just the way it is, I guess.
Mm.
Where there's going to be, you know, that loving, that growth, that expansion, and things that are supporting and allowing life force to flow and thrive. And then you're going to have things that don't allow that, you know, things that are blockages, you know, misunderstandings. um, and that's kind of how I look at the consciousness of the frequency warfare, is it's just the inverse of the love and the allowing
Mm.
of the potential energy to flow. So with that being said, is you know, a lot of people talk about, I like to call them the powers that were. Um, you know, the powers that were, not the powers that be.
Mm.
You know, their technology is a reflection of the consciousness that they are in. And you know, I think it's really important. A lot of people get really emotional uh, when we start talking about these type of things, because they get really angry, frustrated for the right reasons.
Yeah.
But I think that, and again, if we're looking at the perspective of these powers that were, or whatever, um, these people are systems that are built, that are there for, you know, not the expansion, not the growth.
Mhm.
Um, you got to look at it from their perspective, in the sense of, you know, what is their perspective? You know, like that's all they know, is to is like those, like that shame, the anger, things of that nature. Um, so with that being said, it's like, again, they're reflecting that with their technology, and they're trying to spread that. And it's kind of like, and I'll also tie that into, you know, the saying, hurt people.
Mm.
That's just the way they know things. So that's what they're putting out. And that's, you know, they're scared. Really, they're just scared. They don't know if they're going to survive or whatever. Whole bunch of shame going on. Um, so that's kind of like the general gist, the way that I kind of look at it. And I don't, I don't try to get too caught up in like being angry about that stuff, because upon finding about these tools and things of this nature, is like, you know, tensor, orgone, a whole bunch of different scalar tech, is we can literally so easily not just mitigate, but completely transform that
Mm.
shift and that energy. And then it's just kind of like, this goes into like kind of free will philosophy, where it's like, do you really have the choice on whether you're going to, you know, what path you're going to choose?
Mm.
I feel like they all kind of lead or end up going towards growth no matter what at some point. So
Yep.
for the individual,
Yep. Uh,
yeah, that's kind of like how I see it with the washing. You know, all that DOR. You know, I've been doing a lot of fasting recently, so like I've been very, very sensitive to all of the energies, and it is very, very clear, like it is so clear. The more that I clean my body up and my electric field, the difference from coming and sitting out here and being in nature, and then going to the grocery store and getting like some juice or whatever, like the second, I mean, obviously, like I'm feeling it in the car, like around the people,
Yeah.
and just interacting with denser.
Oh, wow.
um
Yeah.
yeah, the second I get into that store or that public space, it's just like you can tell there's a lot of non-native energy going on. There's a lot of stress. There's a lot of blockages.
Yes, brother.
So
Yes,
I
indeed.
kind of went on a little there,
No,
a
no,
little
that
bit of
was
a
amazing. That was amazing. A lot came up through that. Yeah, I have that experience too, especially when fasting. But fasting is like, I would say it's in fact it's very new to me, but I've just started on the journey recently, and I know you're aware of that. But
Mhm.
I think that it's actually the most what I've experienced so far. It's the most healing modality that there is, in the sense of like, if we look at it as a diagnosis of like you go and see a doctor, whatever, and like you come and you're like, Doc, I'm sick. I would say like the doctor, a wise doctor would say, stop eating.
Yes.
Stop eating right, like right
Yeah.
now, like don't. And what comes up through that is the next thing is when that feeling of eating comes, we see that everybody's addicted to eating, and it in a sense an emotional way, and this contributes to
Yeah.
the frequency warfare. Is that everybody, not everybody, excuse me, that is not true, but
Oh,
a lot of beings are um, so a lot of beings are, how can I say it?
they're comforting.
Comforting, yeah, and they're the lack of love, the lack of true love that has been given to beings is it's really, it's sad to see like my brothers and sisters, um so it, in a sense, they've just never been given true unconditional love, and actually don't even understand what real love is. And because of that, of course, you're going to get so far from your heart, because it's just layers and layers of psychology and and dualities and yeah, manifestations in our body, which is in fact what I've come to realize. Yeah, these symptoms that show up are actually the body crying out for healing, the body saying, let me heal, but you have to stop putting this toxicity in me, or um these foods that actually don't like. And now I'm going to share the experience last night, because I've been fruit fasting for I would say I'm like maybe a week and a half in right now. I'm not counting the exact days, but I've been eating about 95% organic fruits, and also doing herbal cleanses and taking tinctures. And what happened to me last night is I called the pizza spot, and I ordered a pizza, and I asked for like gluten-free bread, just to justify my actions, whatever. And then I also got this like mushroom thing on a baguette. And then yeah, I was telling the brother before we started recording, but um I went, and on the way to getting the pizza, I was like, I don't even want this. Like my real self, like my healthy self does not want this. And I spent $50 on this pizza. I walked back to the place I'm staying with it. I looked at the pizza. I didn't even take a bite. It's still sitting in the fridge right now. And it's like the reality of this situation, it's just a fact that I love myself enough that I was not going to put something that was going to be detrimental to my being, especially while I'm cleansing, uh, because it's just it's just a loop. It's a certain loop that just brings up more mental activity, and that was the first time in my life I've done that. But yeah, just in relation to fasting. But I mean, maybe you could, like, I would like you to share some experience of like some of the benefits that you've gotten from fasting.
All right. So yeah, the fasting, man. Holy. Um, so first of all, I started fasting. I had been doing interfasting kind of almost like my whole life. Um, I was when I was younger, I did a lot of like competition sporting. So like I came from like a wrestling MMA background. So there's like a lot of weight cutting involved and a lot of fasting involved in that. I'd say like on average, I'd say for like about 8 years there, I would I was probably only eating like 3 or 4 days a week for a good part of 8 or 9 months of the year.
Whoa.
So it's not necessarily something that I'm new to,
Hmm.
but I am new, I would say in the past year and a half or so. What is new about the fasting is, or I should say 2 years, what is new for me is doing it with the intention and the purpose for healing, self-love, and discovery.
Hmm.
Um, Before it was just, it was like, this is for sport, this is just the way it is, this is what I do, whatever. But now, and again, this starts with the whole pandemic deal. Um, it's when I started getting very health conscious and very much wanting to get in tune with the energy of the earth and what we're building the future. Um, so with that being said, yeah, I started getting into the fasting again, heavy about a year or two ago. Um, I would say I've been taking it a lot more seriously recently. I've just gone 2 months now on liquids.
Wow.
Um, I haven't, Stephen, I haven't lost a pound.
Wow.
I haven't lost a pound. Um, I'm just as strong as I've ever been. Like I can still go and like do a muscle up. Like I still do like jujitsu and stuff like that occasionally.
Hmm.
Like I feel wonderful. Um, and really, I think that that's like the main thing is that it's just like if I could put a few pointers, it's just like my overall body. It feels very very great. I am feeling like I've had a lot of inflammation and tension, especially like up here in my upper back. That's just where trauma gets mostly stored in the body.
Hmm.
And a lot of that's from, wrestling and things of that nature. And I'd say in the past 2 months of being on liquids, I would say like the amount of healing that has done in my shoulders and my back is like comparable to like the last 2 years of like starting my health journey and eating clean and things of that nature. Like the the healing is exponential, physically, emotionally, and mentally. Like I feel so much more connected to my inner voice, my spirit, my connection with my purpose. Um, and just emotionally as well. Like I'm very rarely emotional, even when very intense situations are when I'm met with them. I feel I can go through that emotional wave way quicker
Hmm.
and find that inner peace and clarity just like that. And yeah, I mean, there's like, like like there's nothing better than that in my opinion. Like
Right.
cultivating this self-love is like it's hysterical. It's kind of it's laughable at times because it's just like with the whole food thing, like I have a very interesting relationship with food, like um now because I it was like the second week of me doing like orange therapy and just like cutting off food where I was just it really hit. Like I would go to the store to get like orange juice or something just to like taste something. And like I didn't even want to look at the food. Like I could feel the energy and I could literally like I could see into the future of like, oh, if I go buy that like bag of chips, or even
Yep.
if it wasn't like, even if it was that avocado, you know
Yep.
what I mean? Like, if I'm gonna feel that density in my body, and I'm just like, no, like
Mm.
my body doesn't want that. Like, it's really surreal. Um, it's really surreal. And it was about a month into liquids as well when like things really started kicking in, where I was like, dude. Now, don't get me wrong. Before I see this, like food, I feel like food can obviously be an amazing healer and it is a tool. But like I'm really getting into the point now where like I don't give a fuck what nobody says or anything. I don't believe that we need food. I just don't. It if I can go a month on liquids, now 2 months, I'm just like and I feel better, not worse.
Yep.
I I just don't see the point. So yeah, it's fucking wild. And I guess if I could relate maybe some like tensor into this as well. Um,
Yeah, yeah. One moment, brother. Let me just tap in. So
yeah,
we got a couple minutes on this recording because I haven't
mhm.
yet got the Zoom Pro. So it only gives us 40 minutes, but man, I said this last podcast, but I'm gonna get that Pro today for the next one. And but I mean, if you're still flowing and chilling, like I could edit this video and we could keep going. I think that
Yeah, and
we're just kind of getting juicy. So
like we're just
let me stop this recording and I'll send you a fresh invite and then I'm gonna edit the video together for the podcast and we'll go round two right now.
beautiful.
Okay, and yeah, I'll like we'll just get right into it. All right. Peace.
Set it up.